So my name is Gretchen Newton. I am an administrative intern in Medina City Schools. I work at 2 different elementary buildings that are there. There's 2 different things that I'm going to kind of go over that we've been using at Garfield Elementary in Medina. First, I'm going to actually talk about community connections and how we use different community partners to really support our PBIS work. And then I'll also go into how we use the 5-step process to guide our instruction. So before I go into community partners, I just want to paint a picture about Garfield Elementary and Medina City Schools. We have a pretty unique location as well as demographic compared to the rest of Medina and there's 7 elementaries in Medina. We are positioned right on the square in Medina, so we have access to a lot of small businesses. The public library is right next door to us, but we also service a demographic that's not really reflective of the rest of the district. So we are at about 50% over the past 3 years. It's actually dropped from around 70 to 50% economically disadvantaged. And we are in a district that's sitting at about 15 to 18%. So it's a pretty big discrepancy. But because of that, our family resources might look a little bit different. Our community engagement needs to be a little bit stronger because of that. And we really do rely on our location to support our students both during the day as well as after school. So one of the things that a lot of different PBIS teams have talked to us about is how do you get community partners to come in and work with you, especially on PBIS. And the one thing that I have learned is you just have to ask. We have a local business called South of the Square. It's an auto body shop. And they were bringing book bags to all of our different elementary buildings. I think they even went to the middle school and high school. Every year at the beginning of the year, they fill them up with school supplies and they bring them in. They drop them off and say, if you ever need anything, let us know. We're always like, okay, thanks, have a good year. We'll see you next August. And so it was year 2 of implementing Tier 1, and we finally were like, okay, actually, if you would like, we would love to have you be part of our PBIS team. We're really working on behavior. We need some community support. Would you be willing to join and just see what we're doing? And they're like, absolutely, we've been waiting for this. And so they started coming to our Tier 1 meetings. The owner, Rick, and his business manager, they started coming once a month. They were only there for 30 to 45 minutes, and they were beyond excited to start working with teachers, to work with students. They sent all of their staff to go get background checks so that they could come over during recess, they could do different events, field trips even, and it really was just by asking that question kind of the start to this beautiful relationship that we've had with them now for 4 years. So the very first thing that we realized is we go over data at each of our meetings, and they wanted to help us really reduce problem behaviors in specific areas. So recess was one of the things. They heard there was problems with recess, not enough supplies. Students were starting to play tag when they playing basketball. They went out, they purchased a bunch of different supplies, dropped it off later that day. And literally in the next month, we saw a reduction in problem behaviors. Another thing we were talking about our acknowledgement system at some of our meetings, and we really wanted to get a school store up and running. First thing, $200 check, we said, go, get this started. And from then on, we've honestly been able to run on donations from not just them, but other local businesses. So we have even gone to the extreme of they started funding a big PBIS raffle event that we put on where students can save their points throughout the year and go to the Indians game. We take one student from each homeroom, as well as different PBIS staff members that have been instrumental in implementing PBIS. And we get to go to an Indians game at the end of the year. So again, by asking that question, would you like to join our PBIS team? We've really been able to support students and provide opportunities for them that they have not been able to have in the past, and even reduce problem behaviors in different areas. I mentioned before that our location is also very important to us. So being on the square, we have connections to those small businesses, but we also have this beautiful resource of the public library, literally 2 buildings down. So they have always helped us out with different resources. They have shared their librarians with us to do read alouds. They come to us, we go to them. But we asked the children's media specialist if she would like to be on our PBIS team because of all the work they do with our students after school. So a lot of our students, they will go there, they'll wait until their parents get off of work or can come pick them up.
Just try to get the power button.
So we wanted to support them just like they have supported us for years. So she.
Yeah, please, sorry. The batteries are going in that thing.
Okay, so we have been working with them, whether it's them coming to us or us going to them. And what we did is we set up our expectations, just like we have throughout our school, respectful, responsible, and ready. And we started establishing this over at the library. So students were now seeing expectations over there. We actually gave them access to our acknowledgement system. We used PBIS rewards. We created a staff account for all of the librarians to use to recognize when students were doing the right thing over at the library. They have stoplights posted. They really have adopted the PBIS, or what we've been doing at school over at the library, to help students be successful in both settings. The librarian continues to come to our PBIS meetings and support us with different raffles and events. And again, it's just this relationship that we have connected with a different community partner that has really supported our students in another setting now. Kind of our work with two different community partners. Are there any questions on that before I go into the 5-step process? Okay, so our 5-step process, we implemented Tier 1 about 4 years ago, but I would say it wasn't until we really started looking at our data with this 5-step process where our Tier 1 work became effective. So the one thing is the 5-step process, we use it for academics, we can use it for behavior. It's really just a process of looking at data and making those data-based decisions to guide instruction. So during the 2017-18 school year, we used Google Forms as kind of like our data collection system. Last year and this year, we are using Swiss for our Tier 1. So this is kind of where we organize our major office discipline referrals and where we generate our different graphs from. These graphs are from Google Forms still, so just in case you're curious. So step 1, just like when you're looking at it for academics, you're collecting your data. You're getting that pre-data to figure out where your student's currently at. And we really look at the big 5+2. So we look at average number of referrals, location, day of the week grade, the major behaviors that are occurring. And Google Forms or Swiss can quickly generate that information for you in the visual form so that your team can see where are some of those outliers, where are areas that we really need to focus in on. Which takes you to step 2, where you're going to look at your strengths and weaknesses from those graphs. So for us this school year, the strengths we look at kind of compare to both past school years as well as maybe earlier trimesters. For us, we were really excited to see that arrival and dismissal times have improved from previous school years. That was something that we had taught explicit lessons on, increased our acknowledgement in those areas. We also saw a decrease in lunchtime referrals, and we saw an increase in parent contact. So our team was really excited about that because it was a response to behavior that we felt we were pulling the families in, we were having more conversations and being less punitive in the process. But the weaknesses were also really important because this is where we then kind of guided our instruction and developed our action plan from. So our physical aggression referrals represented over 50% of the majors that were being turned in, and 61% of all incidents were occurring in the classroom. So knowing that those numbers were really high, we created a precise problem statement that guided our work into step 3. So I am going to read this problem statement just because it's so specific, and it was, I think, why our team really had such success. So physical aggression is defined by one student purposely harming another without engaging in a two-way confrontation, accounts for 55% of all office referrals, most occurring in the classroom with the perceived motivation being a combination of attention from peers and work avoidance. So we use that precise problem statement to guide us into step 3, which is where we created shared expectations for implementation. So we really created the outcomes that we wanted for both the staff and the students. The outcome that we were hoping for was that students would be able to recognize emotions within themselves and others and to respond to those emotions with appropriate strategies. So the best part was that precise problem statement had our team realize, okay, physical aggression is the problem, but why is it the problem? Well, students are feeling big emotions that they don't know how to express, they don't know how to deal with, they don't know how to deal with it when it's coming from themselves, nevertheless others. So we created this teaching calendar, kind of like an SEL curriculum, that was based off of this thermometer. And we looked at different resources. We looked at zones of regulation. We looked at inside-out characters. This was a tool that had been in our building just kind of floating around. And it was something that a couple of the teachers were really passionate about and that they wanted to stick to and kind of teach explicitly. So over the course of 5 weeks, we kind of implemented this teaching calendar. We did it through morning meeting, closing circles, read aloud, and encores, which are like our specials. And we had different ways that each of those teachers would target those behaviors and those learning outcomes throughout the day. So it was constantly being embedded for our students. So after 5 weeks of instruction, we went back through and we started doing some progress monitoring in step 4. So we wanted to see, is this instruction being effective? Are our students learning anything and applying it to help them reduce the physical aggression incidents? We looked at 4 different chunks, 4 different 4-week periods of time. So the first one was prior to instruction, during instruction of that teaching calendar, during a review period, which we had created to sustain the learning that they had done, and then review continued. And as you can see, not only the blue, which are all areas of where physical aggression occurred in all areas, it decreased, but also the physical aggression within the classroom also decreased. So we saw that students were able to communicate about their emotions, use strategies when they were starting to feel frustrated, nervous, anxious about different events that were going on in school. But even more so, we saw that teachers were using the language to prompt for those conversations to happen. So teachers could catch the behaviors before they were occurring and honestly guide students to make those better decisions, whether it was to use a strategy, to express their emotion, to recognize an emotion in others. And we did see a drastic decrease with the physical aggression. So step 5 for us is kind of where we summed it all up. Step 4, you look at the big picture, the progress monitoring, how's it going? But step 5, we really wanted to get into the specifics. Did we see a decrease in physical aggression? We did, 55% to 46%. Fighting also was reduced, which was something that we weren't specifically targeting, but we realized that as the students had those strategies to reduce the physical aggression, they were also able to communicate with each other better, and the fighting piece went down. And classroom incidents decreased by 10%. Again, having the teachers implement those strategies, teach those strategies, we saw a big decrease within the classroom. But one thing that we did note was that the number of referrals had spiked immediately after breaks. So even though we're super proud of our work that we did during that progress monitoring period and we saw the decrease, we know there are still areas that we need to work on. And for us, it was going into this school year knowing that we need to support these students when we return from breaks, going back and explicitly teaching the matrix, reviewing the thermometer, and reminding students of what they need to be doing when they're at school. That's kind of how we use the 5-step process to really be effective with the instruction that we were deciding to use, as well as efficient with our time in meetings. Do you guys have any questions on that?